Welcome to another episode of the Soul, Sovereignty, and Sexuality podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, International Soul Embodiment Guide and Divine Feminine Activator. And when this episode comes out, I'm pre-recording the very last episode from my current home. I will be arriving in Greece on October 9th when this releases. And I want to talk about why I'm going, what we experience when we have a soul calling, the things we have to face to honor that soul calling, and how hopefully all of this is also going to benefit you as listeners. So many of you know, if you've listened to any of my podcast episodes before or heard about my story, that in 2013 was the first time I went on a spiritual pilgrimage to Europe. At that point, I was still a practicing attorney and criminal prosecutor. I taught at university. I was very much on a quote straight path to success as defined by society, by other people. And my soul was asking me to leave everything and go away for 3 months. And I thought it was incredibly irrational and irresponsible. And there was no way that I could honor such a ridiculous calling, right? This is what my mind was telling me. I'm sure you can relate. And eventually, after much difficulty and addressing the fears and looking at what I was so afraid of, and more than anything, just feeling like I was about to go crazy because the disconnect between what I was doing and what I felt inside grew so strong, it became like as if I was going to have a nervous breakdown because I wasn't honoring the soul calling. I wasn't listening. I wasn't acting on it. And what happens when we do that is we get dis-ease, we get depressed, we get, it's like we can't feel that same freedom and joy and peace inside because we're not in union. We're not in union with the soul. We're not in union with the inner knowing and the inner calling and the inner truth. And anytime that happens, whether it's in a relationship or in work or in any other aspect of your life, that creates distress and a feeling of imprisonment or smallness, constriction. And it does affect our physicality. And I was feeling those effects. And I eventually surrendered and said yes and literally let go of every possession that I owned, left my house, and went to Europe, knowing where I had to go for 1 week. I arrived in Paris. And after that, it was supposed to be intuitively guided. At that time, I was not used to living intuitively in that way. So that was part of the initiation. That was part of the pilgrimage, was to trust what I felt inside and to let my body guide me. And throughout that process, my body became my compass. I started to drop down into a very different way of living that was body up, not head down, right? We're so taught to live head down. And soul embodiment, what I do is how we live body up and integrate the mind into the wisdom of the body so that we're living as the divine we are. At that point, all I knew was I was being asked to let go of the need to understand, to let go of the need to rationalize, to make sense of, to require everything to be, quote, logical, and immerse myself in the moment, to be in embodied pleasure, which to me, embodied pleasure is fully being present here now. All of my senses engaged because I am allowing the moment to come into me. And I'm putting all of me into the moment. And so there's a union, there's an ecstatic union that takes place. And then, again, you might already know part of the story in which I ended up going to the Mountain of Mary Magdalene, meeting a man I've always called my soulmate, going into a dark underworld of facing my subconscious fears and beliefs around who I was, my power, my identity, my sexuality, and ultimately freeing myself from lifetimes of persecution and violence and oppression for being me and for being in feminine power and for living according to the way of magic, according to the earth, according to the goddess. I'm giving a very short version of the story, but all of this relates to the now moment. Why? Because it almost feels like for me, like full circle. I came back to the United States in 2016, and I've lived here now since then, back in the States. And I'm being asked to go again to Europe, this time for 6 weeks. I am leaving the current house where I am, putting everything in storage because I don't yet know where I'm going to want to be at the end of the 6 weeks. And it feels incredibly different from last time, in part because I am a very different person and I've come into and embody my sovereignty now and embody my soul, which is what allows me to guide others to do so because I know it so intimately. And last time, you might experience this as well in your life, in which you can feel that inner push and pull and a tug, and you're being called to do something. You know you want to do something, but you're really afraid to do it. And so there's confusion and there's inner distress, and there might even feel like chaos. And I experienced that last time. This time is completely different because I trust my inner world and my soul so deeply, and I am in intimate, deep connection with my soul, and it's true that I'm not being forced into this. I don't feel pushed into this. I don't feel confused. I don't feel distressed. There's nothing chaotic. I am choosing to honor the call of my soul to go. I am choosing to say yes to the divine timing, even though it's faster than I initially expected it to be. And so I'm having to move more quickly. I am choosing to walk into this new stage of my life. I am choosing to allow the rebirth and the resurrection to occur within and through me. And I'm not resisting it because I trust my soul, because I trust the divine that I am working through me, in me, as me, and therefore it will not lead me astray, even if there are things that my mind would like to cling onto to give me a sense of safety or knowing or, quote, external security. Not real security. The divine is your security. That's a different conversation. And I can walk into this transition, into this spiritual pilgrimage in a very different way, in a centered way, in a grounded way. And I want to highlight in this episode the difference between the first time in 2013 and this time in 2024. Because there's an ease that is created when we build that inner trust and confidence in our inner experience, in our inner knowing, in our inner truth, in our inner voice, our inner desires. And I know myself so deeply and so intimately that I can easily feel into what is ego, what is soul, what is truth, what is fear. And when I feel a fear, because I've had a couple of fears come up around this transition. One might seem irrational, but it was real of, am I going to find another place that I love this much, that I feel called me here and have the kind of energy that I experience here on this land, with this particular location where I am? Am I going to have that? And so I just let myself, it came one evening when I laid down to go to bed, and I just let myself go into the fear and journal about it and feel the grief and the loss of leaving this land that I feel connected to. And that's the thing, when we are making transitions, when we are hearing a soul call, it's not like there's no fear. It's not as if we don't have discomfort. In fact, those are essential parts of the journey because they're showing us what is within us that we get to alchemize and transmute and heal and bring back into our power, back into our truth. And when we do it consciously, none of it has power over us. And I allow myself to feel that grief because we have to allow ourselves to feel. We have to allow ourselves to feel lost. Again, whether it's a relationship or a home or a city, way of being, there's loss. When there is an ending, there is loss. To act as if there's no loss, to act as if there's no grief, we are lying to ourselves. And I felt the grief, and I felt my heart hurt at leaving this land and all that I experienced in this area, because I don't know if I'm going to come back to Asheville or not. I don't know. Only time will tell. And the knowing that it was okay to feel the grief, just like when I've left partners or relationships, it's okay to feel the grief. It's okay to feel the loss. But is the choice still my choice? Yes. Is it still what I want? Yes. Even if there's loss? Yes. Because it's worth it. Because I am devoted to my soul truth. Because I'm devoted to my freedom. Because I'm devoted to my soul path. Even if it means loss. Even if it means discomfort. Even if it means feeling grief. Even if it means not knowing. And that's how we create that inner union. That sacred inner union. That is, to me, the key to ecstatic freedom. And there's a part of me that doesn't even know why I'm going. Just like last time, I didn't know why I was going. I knew I was being called. I knew the goddess had come to me and called me on an initiatory path. And that's all I knew, that I said yes. Scared me, but I said yes. So what in your life, right? What in your life are you feeling the call for, but scared of or don't understand? Are you still listening? Are you still willing to hear, even if it doesn't make sense? Because that is there for a reason. I have a little bit of an idea as to what this particular pilgrimage is going to bring for me. I love to travel. I love Europe deeply, feel very much at home there. And I'm going to several sacred sites related to what I'll describe as ancient feminine power, starting with Delphi in Greece. And you may have heard of the Delphi oracles. I'm going to activate even more of my own oracular gifts in connection with Gaia and remembrances and healings from that area. And I know that this journey, even though I will be offering soul healing and activations to those of you who feel called to receive them from these sacred sites, that it is first and foremost for me, this trip. Yes, I will be leading retreats from there. Yes, I will be probably going again and taking people and doing more healings from these areas because they're so near and dear to my heart. And this is first and foremost for me. And I will take a pause and just say, you are a healer, a counselor, a therapist. If you are doing any sort of work with people, your work is always first and foremost. Always. And if it's not, then there's something wrong. Because in order to truly help others transform and heal, we have to do that first. We take the first step and we hold a frequency, we hold a vibration that allows others to do the same. No matter what we say, just by being in our presence and attuning to that frequency, in addition to having the capacity to really know and transmute those within ourselves. I know often when I'm working with clients, sometimes I will feel a fear, like say the night before, this has happened a lot, and I will feel a fear come up that maybe I've never even felt before. And I will be transmuting it within myself and really looking at it, getting to its root. And then the next morning, the client will come to me with that same fear. And because I've already transmuted it, we can transmute it very quickly with them. That's how this works when we're in an energetic portal. The portals of transformation that I offer. And going back to what I was saying, I know for me that this is my activation of a new part of my mission. Yes, soul sovereignty is always part of it. Yes, sacred sexuality is always part of it. Yes, the remembrance of our divine feminine power and the feminine as divine and that reclamation and sacred union is always a part of it. Embodying our divinity as the essence of everything I do, and all of that is a part of it. And yet there's still something new coming in, and yet I'm being activated into something even bigger. And I don't yet know what that is. I just know it's here and that it's calling me and that it's time. Because I've gone through my own 11-year initiation and I can feel that this is me at a set point, a reset point, coming out and into the new. That 0 point when there's nothing in the past anymore and you don't yet know the future and you are fully here, fully now. And that's all you got, but that's all you need, right? That's all you got, but that's all you need. Because everything is truly inside of us. And by that, I don't mean, oh, everybody is, right? Like you control everything and just completely create your reality on your own, because we are connected with the all. We are the infinite all. And everything is inside of us, meaning the divine is inside of us. And that divine inside of us is the divine inside all, is the divine inside all things. And therefore, as we commune within us into our heart, the infinite portal of our heart, we connect to the divine intelligence. And when we lean into that, when we surrender into that, when we trust that, then we are connected to the infinite all, living as that, trusting that, walking as the divine we are. And that's actually all we need to do. My experience is that in order to get there, in order to get to that point, what we have to do is the work of clearing all that's standing in the way, of clearing the ways that we reach externally for security, safety, value, worth, power, love. That's the work. So that this inner channel becomes really clear. So that you have learned how to distinguish between soul and ego. So that you've learned how to face and transmute fears. So that you have learned how to connect with the truth of your soul and abide by that and clear what is not your truth, right? That's the essence of soul embodiment. That's the essence of what I do with clients, because I don't see any other way. I've never seen anyone do it any other way that is actually real and grounded and embodied. And here's the thing about this choice, for example, that I'm making to listen to this soul calling, to go to Europe for 6 weeks, to go to these ancient sites, to not know where I'm going next, to put everything in storage, is we don't embody our soul if we don't actually act on the soul truth. Embodiment is living it. Embodying it is experiencing it. Embodying it is talking it, choosing it. Everything in your life is a choice that honors the divine that you are. And if I were to, for example, be soul embodiment guide and guide my clients into this, but I wasn't listening and acting on my soul's inner truth, then I would not be in integrity. Nor would I be embodying my soul, nor would I be embodying it, because I wouldn't be honoring it. And you can't embody something you're not honoring or doing or choosing or acting on, right? And I want to really instill this because, yes, it takes courage. It takes living differently than what we're told to do. Most people in society are conditioned from a very young age that you're supposed to go get a job and make a certain amount of money and have certain things and do things in a certain way, and then you will be happy and then you will be successful. And the reality is, we all know that's crap. And if you were living any aspect of your life or choosing anything based on the external and not your internal world, your internal knowing, your internal soul, then you're probably not going to be happy no matter what you have, no matter what you do. I've seen people, I remember back in 2014, I think it was, when I was in Greece celebrating my 33rd birthday that year. I'll be celebrating my 43rd birthday this year in October in Greece. And I remember my partner at that time, we were on a beach in a town called Paradisi, like paradise. We're in paradise, right? And he was completely lost in his own inner hell. Didn't matter where he was. Didn't matter what was around him. He felt internal hell. And it dawned on me so deeply, so completely, in a way I've never forgotten. It is not at all about where we are. It is not at all about what we have. It is not at all about what we are doing. It has everything to do with how we feel on the inside. Everything to do with how we feel on the inside. I was talking with somebody the other day, this weekend, that I met. And he's in a relationship for 30 years that he's not happy in. And he was talking about that internal distress that it creates, because he's afraid of being alone, afraid of the consequences, afraid of hurting her if he says he wants to leave. And that's creating an internal torment, internal confusion, internal sense of imprisonment, really, a lack of internal joy. You can't feel internally joyful if you're not living in alignment. And it means he's not living in alignment. And this is not judging. This is not blaming. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's not about bad or good. It's not about right or wrong. It's about, are you in alignment with your inner truth? That's it. It doesn't matter how it looks, it's about how it feels. And we could go into the reality of how that's actually affecting her and right, all of that. But my point is, in bringing this up, is that we can either hear our inner truth and know these things, whether it be an inner calling or a relationship, for example, and we can go, okay, so I'm scared about this, have this confusion, have these fears, and we can just let the fear have power over us, and we can keep living out of alignment. We can keep living out of integrity. We can keep trying to show up in a way that isn't actually authentic to us because it's what we're supposed to do or what we think is the right thing or what we're told. And then there's that internal disconnect that it's like an inner hell. Or we can go, okay, I feel this inner truth. I know this is what I want. I know this is what I need. Have a lot of fear. Woo, have a lot of fear. Breathe in. What is the fear? Let's get to the root. What is the fear? Let's look at it. What is the fear? Let's transmute it. Where is it? Let's remove it on an energetic level. Let's remove it on an emotional level. Let's remove it on a mental level. Let's come into union. What does the soul need to see? Because the thing is, every step you're asked to make, your soul is asking you to make, is part of the soul's journey to coming back into wholeness and back in union. Because as you're making that step, you're embodying something deeper. You are healing and transmuting the fears that have kept you locked in. You are facing what needs to be faced within you to create the external shift. So, for example, in this man's particular situation, it's not about does he leave the relationship or not. It's about, are you willing to face the fears and get to the actual truth and be in alignment with your soul, regardless of the outcome? Maybe it means they end up staying together and have conversations. Maybe it means that he leaves. But the point is, what do you need to do to create inner union and inner alignment? And be true to soul, be true to self, which is actually being true to the whole, the infinite of all. Because when you were true to you, you were true to the infinite all, because you are one with the infinite all. And I know for me in this journey, just the going, just the preparation, just the saying yes has already created shifts within me before I even arrived in Europe. And I've had moments of overwhelm because there's a lot to do. There's a lot to prepare for. There's a lot to finish. There's a lot to complete. There's a lot to take care of. And then even when I've had those moments of overwhelm, it feels so right. It feels so good. Like when I've left a partner, yeah, it was stressful. Yeah, it created some overwhelm. Yeah, it created some anxiety and maybe even financial issues and all the things, but still felt so right inside. And so that rightness inside, that freedom inside, that union inside is what gets you through it all. I'd rather sit in the forest and have nothing but what's around me in my complete inner union and freedom than to be sitting in a mansion in a gorgeous paradise and be separated from myself. It makes no sense to me at this point in my life why I would do anything that would separate me from my soul, my truth, from living my soul's truth. We can never actually be separate from the soul, right? Always here. It's up to us to align, to attune, to embody, to come into that union. Again, here, now. So I will leave you there. And I will put a link below if you want to go to thepathtosovereignty.com and check out the soul healing activations, which are available both in a group format and in a one-on-one individual format. If you feel a connection to Delphi, Malta or Pompeii. Delphi is really about the oracular gifts, that connection to Gaia, being an oracular priestess, prophecy, voice, truth. I would say Malta, though I'm still going to be tuning into what the group activations are going to be based on the land and the energy when I'm there, is that ancient feminine power, that deep earth connection, also oracular gifts and sacred sexuality, sacred union, medicine with bees, pleasure. And Pompeii is also sacred pleasure, sacred sexuality, Venus, Venusian temples and codes and activations. And so it's also healing from soul trauma. All of these have their own aspects of soul trauma because each of these places experience destruction and violence and persecution, particularly those who were the women, who were the priestesses, who were the healers, who were the code carriers. And so this is about unleashing that wisdom back into the collective and healing those grids and activating our own memories and doing that soul healing. So go to thepathtosovereignty.com or send me a message if you're interested in that. And all of the next few weeks of episodes will be from these locations, talking about the medicine there, the wisdom there, the beauty there, so that you can receive bits and pieces of my own journey. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you again soon.